I have huge concerns about Diablo 4. This is a video from Zizrain, PoE legend. You know him. Everybody knows him. I've watched a lot of videos of his. We'll take a look at this one. Here we go.
Hi, Zizrain here with another video. And
turn it up a bit.
I just tried the Druid. And I'll make...
Man, no wonder he made this video. Holy shit. So he just tried the Druid, and he just got done making a video called I Have Huge Concerns for Diablo 4. Man. I can see why.
Make a video about everything about the Druid, but the Druid started pointing out some problems in Diablo 4 that wasn't as apparent with a lot of the other classes, and especially with the new information, legendaries are increased drop rate
by a substantial amount.
So that means that you will not be decked out in full legendaries by 25.
That's
and that
right.
pretty much changes everything.
It does.
That means that it's going to make a lot bigger difference.
The only classes that are playable without legendaries is, I think, Rogue, Sorc, and Necromancer. I think Barbarian and Druid are not playable without legendaries. And I think the only one that's really playable without legendaries is Sorc. I think like Sorc is a step above Necro. Probably maybe Necro's up there too. But I think even Rogue is a tier below them.
Difference when you actually get them. But with that in mind, I was playing, and first off, resource generation on Druid and Barb is really, really bad. It's also extremely weird on Druid how you can hit like debris, barrels, and stuff like that, and suddenly you're gaining resources. But you're not gaining resources by regenerating. But hitting a barrel is okay. Or a deer. You're a Druid, and you can kill a deer to get some more resources. Very Druid-like. Obviously, the last one is more of a joke. But
it's not a joke. It's fucking stupid. He's right.
Resource generation felt really weird, and I've gone into Diablo 4, and with everything they're saying, they are aiming for a more casual audience. They've said that the skill tree is very on purpose to be more simple because they want it to be an easy game to get into. But here's where I start having a problem.
Which is a good idea.
That's all well and good, but there's several things in the game that is not catered to more casual players. There's a few things that are really, really big issues. The first off, the resource generation and cooldown. Either is fine, but they do such a big combination of both, and it really sets apart skills that don't have either. For example, Corpse Explosion, I think, is done really well.
Because it's fucking insane. Yeah, it's really, really good. The problem fundamentally is that melee classes shouldn't have builders. They should only have base attacks that deal damage. Having to build up energy in order to do one of your base attacks while you also have to negotiate getting into melee range to do that feels horrible.
It has no cooldown, no resource cost, and the only limitation, which ends up being the resource cost, is corpses being there, which you have a lot of different ways to generate. So Corpse Explosion ends up being really good and sets itself apart so much. Now you have a lot of other skills that some have insane cooldowns, some have cooldowns and resource costs. There's this like insane amount of either something has a crazy long cooldown or it's so extremely cost that you can only cast it 2 or 3 times.
And
we
then
do
you're
see
out.
that we have things on items like resource cost reduction, etc. It does feel a little bit extreme early. Obviously, I can't speak about the endgame. This is only level 25.
But I think level 25 matters a lot. Like, if level 25 isn't fun to play, that's your first impression of the game. So if you play, I feel like, I hope Blizzard runs the numbers and they look at how many druids stopped playing. And how many people fully leveled to 25 as Sorcerer versus how many people fully leveled to 25 as Druid. Because I bet that a ton of fucking people played Druid to like level 9. They said, fuck this, and then they stopped playing the class. That's what I did.
The reason I want to make this video is that I hope by giving feedback, and if a lot of people talk about it, that they'll be like, okay, this is definitely something that isn't in the endgame. We don't have to worry about it from Blizzard's point of view. Like, this doesn't become a problem later, and then that's all fine, right? Then all my complaints are irrelevant.
I don't think so. Because if you have a bad beginning game, Diablo 4, the main audience of Diablo 4 are people that heard about Diablo 4 by seeing a commercial for it on TV. Okay? If Act 1 sucks, they're done.
Or that they're like, man, that
they went
is
to
a really good
KFC.
point. If people are feeling like this at level 25 and they know that it doesn't get better in the in-game, then they maybe should think about doing something.
Yeah.
Because the main important thing is that people have fun and that the game
Exactly.
is accessible and easy for the majority of people.
It's
and
fun.
The fact that Barb not only doesn't regenerate its resource, but it degenerates it. Which, if you've been out of combat a few seconds, you start losing your rage. That feels really bad. So Barb and Druid just has awful resource generation. Another thing, this is just straight up anti-casual.
True.
The respec cost. So the respec cost goes up the more you do it, but it goes up permanently. Apparently this is intentional, where they have said that at some...
The resource cost goes up over time. I didn't know that. I thought that it went up based off of your level. Why? Yeah, what is this? Why? I don't know what he means. Respec cost? Yeah, I know. It goes up for each level, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I could see it being a small nominal gold fee to try to combat some level of inflation. And it's like, okay, all right, fine. Like, it's like repairs in retail WoW. Okay, sure. But if this is actually going to be prohibitive to people that want to play the game in different ways, who is this for? Who is this helping? Where's the upside to the player?
At some point, they want people to make a new character instead of be respecing permanently. That is okay and all well and good as a philosophy, but I don't think it goes very well over with a more casual audience.
No, a casual player is not going to say, I want to play a new barbarian. Let me go through every act of the game and level up this barbarian because Blizzard has decided this arbitrary number is too high for me to click the button on. This is just not going to happen.
Generally, especially more casual players, aren't even on Twitch. They aren't on YouTube. They aren't checking build guides.
Yeah.
And they want to experiment and play around with different things.
Exactly.
At least like on a basic level. Like, I'm not talking about making advanced builds here. I'm just saying, what is that ability like? What is that ability like? And this really prevents that when eventually your gold cost will become so big that you have to make a new character and never goes down. Somebody
that's
said
so
that
silly.
it will go down between seasons, but obviously that is only a thing for the people that are playing non-laddered. If you are respecing a lot in a season on an active character, you will at some point just, okay, well now it's 1.2 million gold to respec one node. It's time to make a new character.
Blizzard had this with Azerite gear in BFA. And what they did is they made the cost of respecing your Azerite gear become more expensive every single time that you did it. And nobody liked it. It was bad. It was universally disliked, and the game was less fun because of it. But why? I don't know. It's just stupid.
So I definitely prefer Last Epoch's respec system there being incredibly new player friendly, and you can respec at any time with no cost, and you just have to very quickly level back the skill up. And that goes very fast.
Yeah.
It just seems a little bit at odds
Diablo
with
3 is
making
the same
a
way.
more simple casual game. A lot of the characters early aren't, especially with legendaries being increased drop rate, going to really give the same power fancy that I think a lot of people are expecting. There is such a large percentage that love Diablo 3 for this. Now, Diablo 3 is...
I really enjoyed playing my my wizard and playing my necromancer through leveling. I actually enjoyed it. I had fun, even without a bunch of legendaries or anything like that. I just thought it was enjoyable.
my least favorite ARPG because it tells you what to play. It's incredibly easy, and it is just the entire power fancy of just right-clicking down monsters. But there are so many people that love that, and a lot of people want Diablo 4 to be that. They don't necessarily want it to be a struggle. They don't want low pack size, like the density we saw, and obviously I can't talk about leaked content, but we have seen some of that too. It doesn't look great for the power fancy of just mowing down monsters. A lot of what...
I am very torn on this. Because, like, the power fantasy of, let's say, Chaos Dungeons in Lost Ark, or full Delirium maps in PoE whenever you have like really good gear to do it. So I do think that like mowing down mobs of packs of mobs like that makes it to where anything that's not like that feels really bad. And there's a part of me that does kind of enjoy a slower paced game like Diablo 4, where there aren't these massive packs and you're just fighting a group of mobs and then you go to the next group of mobs. But I do feel like inevitably what that will turn into is people that min-max their movement speed between one big pack of mobs to the next big pack of mobs. So even if you don't give people this and you give them the opposite, they will turn it into Zoom Zoom, like big packs of mobs. And that's what happens with Diablo 3. Like if you go and you watch a lot of the Diablo 3 Rift videos, for example, like the mobs are like, yeah, there's a lot of mobs there, but the ones where they have like really fast clear speed, they pull mobs from all over the area and they AoE down all of them at the same time. So they're doing the same thing functionally as in PoE. Yeah, they group the mobs.
We've seen it's a lot more like specific and more thought out. Like, okay, this zone has some monsters, but now you're not seeing a monster for like a minute or so. And that also seems a little bit at odds to me. So while there's a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, this is very clearly designed for more simplistic play or more casual players, there are some things that just seems incredibly at odds at it. So
I am actually not... I am not completely against the monster density, but I want to see the end game. I think that they should start with lower monster density and then move up from that.
by sort of being like dancing between these lines and not necessarily in a good way, I'm just wondering, who will Diablo 4 end up being for?
Yeah.
I want games to be very, very different from each other. It's cool if they take some things. I don't mind that. But I want Last Epoch, Diablo 4, and Path of Exile to be very strong identities and very different so that people have more choice. And I was expecting it to be Diablo 4 will be the most casual one for casual players.
And I also think that Diablo 4 is a huge, like a very bad job communicating debuffs. Like, it's very hard for you to know what's happening to your character. Like, your character can get frozen, and there's no indicator of like how close to being frozen you are. There's no indicator to like what's happening to you. You should be able to mouse over it and be like, oh, that's happening to me. Rather than your health pool just going down and it's like, that's it. Like, who's this for? And again, this is worse than Diablo 3.
Easy, gives you the power fancy, gives you the hack and slash. And then you have Last Epoch somewhere in the middle, and you have Path of Exile for the people that, you know, you shut out the light, you really sit there for 16 hours calculating out your build, and you really want that complexity, you want that insane endgame, etc. And having the choice between those three would be so great, but I'm starting to wonder, is that going to be Diablo 4? Honestly, it's just something we're going to have to wait and see. I just want to make this video, get people talking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think I'm onto something? Do you think I'm...
We're going to do a podcast. Obviously, Zizrain is going to be invited. Goes without saying. Ziz, Quinn. Like, I feel like, obviously, like, the three main people is, like, Quinn, Crip, and Zizrain. Like, 100%. Like, I would ask them and, like, probably work around their schedule to an extent. And like, really sit down and like talk to them about it. And I think there's also like a few other people like Dat Mods. I think we might do multiple episodes. There's a good chance that we could do multiple episodes for it. Because you're right. I mean, like Rax, like Alkaiser, like I didn't know Mathel was playing it that much. Like Steel Mage, yeah. There are plenty of people that that would be good. Yeah, Shroud and Force, yeah. So I actually probably will do that. And maybe that'll happen later on, like towards the end of this weekend. I'll probably just hit people up and see what's possible. I think more than 5 people would probably be too much unless we had somebody that we know would be like more quiet. Like, for example, like Rax is pretty quiet, and so is like Mathel. I think they're both kind of like more quiet guys. So like maybe we could have 6 with both of them on there. But other than that, it would be kind of hard to do.
Stupid keep in mind this is only a level 25 beta and we don't have the full game. I've never had access to the end game beta or anything, so I
Neither
know
have I.
nothing about it aside from leaks that we're seeing on Reddit and stuff. One thing that's so scary to me about the legendary items with the reduced drop rate, it basically becomes the problem I have with sets, at least. Well, there aren't sets because it is one item. The problem I have with sets is that it homogenizes gear and tells you what skill to play in Diablo 3. But it
He's definitely right about this, and anybody who played Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls seasons knows this. Because they'll just massively overbuff a spell by 5,000%, and then everybody plays that spell. Okay, there it is.
definitely will end up telling you what skill to play. So I would rather like to see that either it has an impact on multiple skills or multiple things. I would love to see the removal of the damage increase, because just changing something in a neat way is already, or should already be, the exciting part of the legendary. When it both affects the way it plays and not in a negative way and triples your damage, then it kind of ends up being a no-brainer.
Wombo combo legendaries. I think he's right. I'm not sure though. Yeah, I think I don't know, because like I feel like we have to really see the end game. The truth is that whenever Diablo 4 comes out, it doesn't come out. The real beta for Diablo 4 starts in June. Okay? And the real Diablo 4 gets released is going to be the first season.
Now, hopefully at the end game, when we do have
That's,
a lot of
it is what
legendaries,
it is.
you end up the choice between a lot of these different skills. But I am a little bit worried about seeing in this early 25 demo that some skills are so much ahead of others, regardless of even having legendaries. As soon as you unlock Chain Lightning, Fireball, Frozen Orb, Chain Lightning is just miles ahead of everything else by default.
The scaling is bad.
Another thing that is very dated and I hope gets fixed before launch of Diablo 4 is the dungeon design. Obviously, a lot of the bosses are just reused. So if you're jumping between several dungeons,
I actually don't think that this will be a problem on release. I know I might get pushback for this, but I actually don't think it will be a problem. And I think this was only really a problem because we were only doing Act 1. I do think that it could be better. However, even Path of Exile reuses bosses.
Sometimes you'll just see the exact same boss that you just fought. That's pretty lame. A lot of the designs of the dungeons themselves are very like tedious and mazy and not necessarily fun to go through. But the number one thing that is really bad is there are some dungeons that you have to kill every single monster down to the last one.
The little bat. Remember whenever I was playing with Silvervale? And there was one little fucking flappy boy sitting there at the beginning. Ooh, you didn't get me. And we had to go all the way back over there just to kill the fucking bat. What's this for? Why? It's fucking annoying.
In an area before you're able to progress. And sometimes on top of this, that also has that you need to pick up every single essence that monster drops.
It's such a cock. The essences should automatically, like, the functional gameplay of I have to walk over the purple essence, and if I don't, like, I've got to run all the way back over there. Who is this for? Why? Why do we do this?
These are like super outdated concepts from the year 2000 that generally nearly every other RPG is solved by having, well, you only need to kill 90% and then you can progress. Or if it is kill everything, it's a very, very linear zone where you're very unlikely to actually have to go back. So very, very weird concepts.
Well, Diablo, remember, again, the devs, they solved this problem. Ayo, it's taken care of. So basically, whenever you run back, the mobs are going to respawn. So it won't be like you're just running back through an empty dungeon, because there'll be new mobs for you to kill. Problem solved. There it is. Blizzard solution. It's the same as with WoW Dragonflight, or this happened in Shadowlands. Man, these players really don't like Tyrannical. I wonder what we should do. No, we're not going to fix it. Let's make it to where they have to do Tyrannical in order to get Keystone Master. Problem solved.
Hope get fixed between now and launch. Another thing that ends up being really
now everybody's doing
frustrating is
Tyrannical. We
obviously
knew
the
they
level
loved
scaling.
it.
I've
We
talked
fixed
about this
it.
a lot in previous videos, but it also became a lot more noticeable on the Druid. And one thing that I really felt is destroying the game for me is every single time I level up, my character becomes weaker and not stronger. This is
I also think that this will not become as big of a problem on release. The reason why it's a bigger problem right now is because you're moving through one zone and you're not moving into different mobs. For example, if you went into Act 2 and you were fighting different mobs and those mobs were stronger, it wouldn't feel as bad as the exact same skeletons that you're fighting that just have a higher level and they do more damage. So I think that it's very much because of the fact that we're only doing Act 1, and if people are going through the acts naturally, it won't feel as bad.
Basically super reverse of any other ARPG. You only feel stronger when you get a huge power spike in item or you unlock some sort of big combo. Other than that, you actively feel punished, and not in a small way. You feel it every single level that you are getting punished whenever you level up. And that is...
I also feel like it felt a lot worse on the beta because people got legendaries at level 7 and then they out-leveled the functionality of their legendary, but they didn't want to imprint the effect because they weren't 25 yet. So it had like this really weird dynamic that you wanted to stick with the legendary, but you didn't want to imprint it as well. Like, I actually don't think it's going to be even nearly as big of a problem on release because people are going to be going through the acts and are not going to be concerned about the levels of the mobs because they're going to be fighting different mobs and the increase in difficulty will be assumed through just playing through the game. So I actually don't think it will be that bad, and I think that the problem of the leveling up issue is much more of an issue of like barbarians and druids, but that's because of how badly the class plays and not necessarily because of leveling up. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think this will be a big issue. Now, what I do think will be a big issue is what happened with Diablo Immortal. Now, with Diablo Immortal, there was so much scaling that made everything else the same level as you are that you never got to feel like you had a big dick. You never got to feel like you could just one-shot anything you wanted because the whole world would scale up with you and you never got that feeling of mastery over it. And this is one of the best things about Diablo 3 is that you could finally get enough gear and you could clear Inferno. You could do it. And you could watch videos of guys doing it on YouTube, and it's like, what the fuck? It's possible. Oh my God. I just have to farm 12 hours a day for 10 days. Every single fucking second. You know, yes. And the PoE is the same way. Yeah, you feel like you broke the game. There you go.
Very rough. A lot of the other classes were so overpowered in comparison to the Druid that you don't feel it as much. But on Druid, it feels even worse than what Oblivion felt like. An important thing to remember, even if they don't nail it at launch, they have said that they are going to be doing beefy league updates. And every time I talk about that on stream, people sadly say copium, but you do have to remember Blizzard is a for-profit company, and we see...
Blizzard has... The most recent patch of Diablo 3 was great. According to almost everybody who I talked to. I did not play it personally, but everybody who I talked to was very happy with the last patch of Diablo 3. On top of that, Dragonflight has received a number of updates post-launch, and Blizzard has given Dragonflight more support than any other expansion ever.
Very clear reasons for why they themselves would have a big reason to make sure that the seasons are beefy. That is why I feel that it's a lot less...
They have an even bigger reason for Diablo 4 versus Diablo 3 because they're selling battle passes in Diablo 4 and they weren't doing that in Diablo 3. So there's a new reason to incentivize people to come back to play the game. Because with Diablo 3, haha, bitch, I got your money. But now, with Diablo 4, oh man, you've got to get people coming back so they spend that money again. It's not just about making $70, it's about making $70 and then $20 every 3 months.
Opium, they're going to be selling cosmetics. They're going to be selling the battle pass. Whereas like previous things like Diablo 3, they would just have to hope that new players are buying the game. So they're a lot less incentivized to actually have big updates outside of expansions.
Yes, microtransactions unironically incentivize them to make better content for the game. Because they need to get people to come back into the game. It's like a gateway drug. The game is the gateway, and then they buy the fucking battle pass.
Which is no longer the case. So yeah, I do think that there is a good chance that we will get beefy updates because of the financial incentive. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts below. This is just some of the big concerns I have. So obviously this ends up being a little bit of a, well, it can probably come off as a negative video, but hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. And I really want the game to do well and be a great game, especially for casual players. So thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.
There it is. That means don't do the world boss. Wouldn't that make it pay to win? No, battle passes aren't inherently pay to win.
I feel
but
like
sometimes
over the last
they can
couple
be.
of months, or actually,
Let me go back over and look at this here. I think there'll be a meta dungeon with max loot that'll be farmed until no end, and that'll kill the games like Rifts and Diablo 3. Well, look. The first few days, people were farming other dungeons. And then I started farming that one dungeon. Then on the last day, everybody was farming that one dungeon. You're right. That's exactly what's going to happen. There's a video right there. Zizrain makes great content, makes great PoE content. So April 7th is the day the new PoE League is coming out. Is that right? Am I right about that? I could be wrong. April 7th. Keep up with this channel if you're going to watch any of the PoE content. You got to play the game. This guy's a great resource. So yeah, keep it in mind. April 7th. We're going to be there. Oh, we're going to be there. I'm excited, man. I'm going to pretty much play it no matter what.